Evening, everybody. So we've had an Easter break and we're back. Welcome to the Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast, Bristol Race Weekend. We had the trifecta on track, uh, which is, this is my favorite track. I always love it when we have all three series here. And the trucks aren't going to race again until May, which is crazy. But so with that, we'll start with the truck race. Um, going into the weekend, Heim had an opportunity to win $500,000 off the bonus for the Dash for Cash and earn more than an entire truck team earns in the season as 10th place in points. Just running, you know, a handful of races, not even running full time. But, wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. Nothing of his own doing. So I know you had some thoughts about that, Blake. So we'll start with the truck race. Um, I watched it. Bell ultimately won, but what'd you think of the truck race first off for the weekend?
Truck race is probably the best race of the weekend, um, as far as competition goes. Um, Cup close behind. Cup was very
Yep.
close behind, but the truck was, I think, number one on that. Um, I I feel like the traction compound, the bottom of the track, probably kind of took something from it a little bit, but Christian Eckes, I think, has turn his name into an ass, if you know what I mean. Like
Mhm.
he just you're so concerned about winning, and you're gonna hurt your name doing it. You know, he can tell us all he wants that he didn't mean to do that to wreck Corey Heim, but it was obvious. You
Yep.
don't run. This is like his fourth year, I think, in trucks or any other vehicle as far as the top three in NASCAR, and
And
you're
he's been in
telling
good
me you
trucks
just
still.
misjudged? You just
Yep.
misjudged the truck passing you and try to get behind him that bad by over a foot? No, that was on purpose and destroyed destroyed somebody's chances of winning 350 more $1,000. It just kind of sucked the wind out of the race for me. Um, that and Ben Rhodes falling apart at the end kind of
Yeah.
that was almost a cool come from behind story. And but overall, I enjoyed the truck race.
Yeah. Um, I agree. Like the racing overall was good. After Heim got wrecked by Eckes, I kind of lost interest because I was waiting to see, just how that was going to play out and having that opportunity taken from him, not due to good racing, but just, idiotic racing by somebody where that's not necessary at that point in the race still, by a guy who it's not his first time doing something stupid like that. So,
Corey
yeah,
Haim's a better man than I am because he sat there and he said, "I know it wasn't on purpose. We're
yeah,
good." And I'm like,
yeah, that,
You you're just being nice because you know you got to ride on your, you got to ride in your future."
yeah. I think if Corey Heim doesn't have a full-time ride, that's coming in the very near future, that's a totally different reaction, especially with what was financially at stake. I mean, he's still better than me at 300. You just took $350,000 from me because you basically
Don't
went
like
over
being
your head.
passed. Don't
Oh,
like
you were
being
gonna get
passed.
passed. Yep, and you were gonna get passed either top or bottom. It didn't matter, you know. So,
And
but yeah,
it took out the 11 as well.
yep,
And he said what we were all thinking. What a dumb move.
yep, yeah. So that'll be interesting to see what everybody says about that throughout the week. Um, so other than that, not really too much else to say about the truck race. Just it was good. The one thing I did notice is you do in the truck bodies, they definitely need to straighten them out. Not all of them are fishtailed, if you will, at the end, but you could tell
Oh,
which
that
one was.
crab walking.
Yeah. Well, the body goes out. Honestly, the truck is the closest thing to the Twisted Sister we have. The
Well,
front end
it
is the one
reminds
it
me of
points
the
into.
COT when they
Yeah.
planted it to the right.
Yeah. Yeah, they've basically taken the body and the chassis. The chassis is going this, or the rails are going this way, but the body is offset like this
Yep,
for the side force, and it's driving sideways. Um, and it looks ridiculous. But at the same
I agree.
time, it's the closest thing to, the COT slash Twisted Sister that we have, which is part of why the trucks, when you had the higher tier drivers in them, put on some of the best racing all weekend, all the time, was because you could offset the bodies the way that you do, uh, especially in the prior versions where they had the splitter with the almost like the COT like nose with the little lip and everything.
Yeah.
That era where the snout was way out at an angle. Those were some of the
The
best.
the last thing I have with the truck race is, Corey LaJoie's put in for a waiver, and I think they're trying to do the same thing to Corey Heim. And
Yeah.
Corey Heim, they both deserve one. I mean, they're going to run the rest of this. If they're going to run the rest of the season, it's a chase. It's not playoffs. Like,
Right.
if you're in the top 10 in points, you're in the top 10 in points. Who
Agreed.
cares? So,
Agreed. The whole that's something. Yeah, definitely.
I think that Corey hurt himself in his. I thought his chances were minimal at best with a new team with very few new trucks being made.
Yeah.
But with he was having a good run and he had a restart violation and then wrecked himself. So
Yep.
just you can't be doing that if you're hoping to potentially be going for points in trucks.
Yeah, and you've already spotted the field X number of races, so you can't afford to go backwards. So his first full race in that ride post the exit of Daniel Dye, and yeah, that wasn't.
Second, I think
Yeah,
he ran last week too.
you're right. He did. Yep, I forgot about the standalone weekend because we didn't really take it together and talk about that. So yeah, his second event. I agree with you. I don't think there needs to be a. Well, first off, you shouldn't need a waiver to discuss this anyway. If you weren't running full time and you haven't declared points, then if you race enough races in a particular series and decide to declare points later, like it shouldn't matter in my mind. Like again, it's the chase. Like if Corey Heim or Corey LaJoie for that matter can spot the field X number of races and still get into the chase, then more
More
power to
power
him.
to him. Yep.
That just tells you that the rest of the field needs to pick it up. It's not like they had an unfair advantage. I spotted you, 75 points a race. So between stages and the bonus wins. So times X number of races. So yeah, I think this is something that NASCAR will need to fix. They probably will. I don't know if they'll fix it this season or if they'll just fix it in the off season. They should fix it this season because there's no guarantee that Heim or LaJoie will be full time next year. Uh, Before we move on from the truck race and truck series into the O'Reilly side of the house, because we didn't do anything last week, with Corey getting this opportunity, LaJoie, do you think this gives him a potential return to Cup if he were to stick with this ride and perform? Or do you think it's still he's past we'll say past the expiration date on his age slash career?
He's not past the expiration date on his age because I think he's 33 or 34.
Yep.
He's with Larson with that. Larson
Yep.
and Logano and a couple others. So Shane Van Gisbergen's 36 or 37 or something like that.
Yep.
So he's not at the end of it. And I was actually going to get to this myself. So, great minds think alike. But I believe Dodge will be in the Cup Series by 2028. And I believe Allmendinger will be on his way out if if Corey does well with Colleague, and it's all with Matt or was it Matt Rice? Is that his name?
Chris Rice and Matt Collick.
Chris Rice. If Chris Rice, likes him and their sponsors like him, then I see him being the driver of the 16 or the 10 in the coming future. I don't
Yeah,
see
I
why
mean,
that wouldn't if he does well. I don't see any other drivers right now on the pipeline that would fit the colleague mold better than Corey LaJoie.
I agree. I think I think he shot him his, let's, how do I want to look at this? To answer the question, I think it provides him an opportunity. It's a slim opportunity, but there's an opportunity there. He has to capitalize on the opportunity in front of him right now because going in, there's at least one more year of development before the Cup program is even ready to hit the track. Whether they get to an Xfinity or a O'Reilly program is questionable, or if they just bypass that altogether at Dodge as a whole and decide to just go trucks Cup only, and to try and decide what level of value there is for them in the O'Reilly side of the house because of the Carson Hosevars and others, that have basically bypassed it and gone straight there. Um, you know, Dale Jr. had a great discussion on it this week about whether or not the two series are really standalone or feeder series at this point. And I think you could make an argument both ways. Depending on the team you're with, look at Allgaier with Junior Motorsports and, what he's been able to do, or Elliott Sadler in his later years, or Hornaday. Like you could make a very good living if you win often and are in a good vehicle with a good team and a good sponsor. So I think it provides an option. He's got to obviously do some brand repair work after his comments last year, where he had said he'd rather, leading into last year, where he bet on himself, but he'd rather not race than race in those two lower series. And here he is in this lower series now in a good truck, mind you.
Uh,
Well, I
about
say,
good.
well, Colleague is a good team
Yeah,
overall. Now, are they the best team out there right now? No, but they're also starting from behind the eight ball. You're buying equipment, putting new noses and stuff on, and at the same time trying to build a program. So,
that's the part that confuses me. You're going to come out here. You've had over a year to deal with.
mhm.
Dodge hasn't. They haven't built their own damn car. Like it doesn't make sense. Like
It is concerning. You know, it makes me question the seriousness of their commitment in the same way I question Ford's. When
the
you look at Ford has no real development at the middle tier, and they're almost non-existent at truck level. You know, and you don't have to. You could go the route of the Rick Hendricks and just buy the talent when they get to they're ready enough. But if you want to be able to groom your people, especially, the not just the truck itself, the program itself, but the people you need in the pipeline to make proper cup crew chiefs, car chiefs, engineers, etc., then you need some type of pipeline in all three because they need different tiers of experience and levels of pressure before they get to the top. And Dodge we'll see what they do, but Ford definitely that's lacking on their side big time at this point. Chevy and Toyota have a pretty good pipeline at this point, but Dodge and Ford are lacking. One's new, one has no excuse. So
the only thing I can guess is that maybe Dodge is putting all their effort towards developing a cup car,
yeah,
and this is just kind of getting a name out there, potentially, just showing that they're there, just maybe putting money towards it, but not a lot of money. But
yeah.
what do they have? Five truck team.
We got
There's
five
got to be
trucks.
some money, and they're all
It's a
sponsored
spec
by
engine.
Dodge.
So I mean, you could run the spec engine. What is it? Triad, I think, is the motor, the spec motor, if you want to run it.
Yeah,
So like, it's not like you got to
it's
come up with a power
Elmore, isn't
plant.
it?
You can spend all your money on the crate motor for
It's
Cup.
an Elmore engine, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. Ilmor, that's what it is. It used to be Triad, but now it's so. Anyway, um, yeah, I just with especially with them two and what's happening, and then with the opportunity in front of them, it's definitely a interesting conversation topic.
Yeah.
So moving into the race from Saturday, Xfinity, uh, I thought Larson was going to win it, and somehow they once again found a way to lose it. I'm happy for Rodney uh, and JRM, but at the same time, like here we are again, uh, you know, just like Vegas. you know, like how did you not? How did they manage to lose this race? I don't understand.
Yeah, you mean Darlington? Yeah,
Yeah, you're right, Darlington. Yeah,
well, I mean, they made the right call to pit in my opinion. But in a world where, and it goes for today too,
Mhm.
in a world where these tires apparently don't fall off as much as we want them to,
Yeah.
you know, the last few years in Cup, we've had kind of topsy turvy tires wearing after 30 laps, 40 laps, and you can't do nothing. And then you got situations like yesterday and today where the guy that won had 90 plus laps on their tires and they won the race.
Mhm.
So, I mean, good for Connor Zillage and Rodney for making the call they did, but it shouldn't have worked.
Yeah. I mean, so to me, I agree. That's the problem I have with yesterday and today is that so if if anybody didn't listen to the Dale Jr. download where they had the was no, sorry, not Dale Jr. To the Gluckcast where Jeff had the Goodyear executive on there. I think they did what they needed to do from a homework standpoint, and I'm glad that we didn't have tire dusting like we did the last two spring races where it's like hit and miss. The tires are coming apart every 30 laps or whatever. But they did too good a job now. We're back to where the tires almost are worthless. The guys that won on older tires, and in a correct world, they should have been smoked. You know, that tells you the tires. So we went from tires that were disintegrating to tires that don't even wear near enough. So now we need to go back the other direction.
It is better than the tire from last spring.
Yes.
I'll give them that. It was, I mean, the cars were loose. It was putting rubber down the track. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it was doing everything you wanted except for lose much time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
I
didn't have the
saw
fall.
after, well, we got into the cup race. We got to wait for a second.
Yeah.
We're talking about O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Uh, sorry, but within O'Reilly, I kind of want to backtrack a little bit to Rockingham if we can.
Yeah.
Um, you know, pit crews are the name of the game this year as far as losing races. Uh,
Definitely. Yep.
you know, the sevens team sort of lost in the race at Las Vegas. The the 88 team lost in the race at Darlington, losing 4 or 5 spots, pulling
Hmm.
Ryan Blaney stuff. And you know, now you got, the 88 team made the right call, but you got a team that says hell with it, we're staying out, track position's key, and it was. So, I just want to say that, Corey Days probably should have had a day at Rockingham last week, and it
Yeah.
got stolen away from the pit crew not doing its job twice.
I can agree with that. I think Zillich winning this weekend was much needed. He with the way his year's
Confidence,
going,
yes.
he definitely needed to win just from a confidence standpoint because he's been getting kicked in the teeth
He
all
got kicked in
on
the
so
teeth
far.
today.
Yep. He's learning that it's a lot harder to go to the next step, which honestly, I think Trackhouse, I mean, he's going to have to learn at some point, but I think Trackhouse is learning a very valuable lesson. Look at where Suarez is performing in Cup with all the experience he has at the seven
Mhm.
car. And not only is Suarez outperforming Connor, he's outperforming the entire Trackhouse enterprise
Yeah. I think the
on
only
a weekly
the only
basis,
team that did worse than Trackhouse today is the 2014.
which, yeah, we'll definitely get to that. But so
Yeah.
I think Connor definitely needed this. I think Connor would have benefited, truthfully, even though you can only declare one set of points. I think Connor still should have ran the entire, if they could have found a way, a full second season while running Cup also, because with limited practice, the more time you have on track, the better it's going to be for you. Even if he can't win the championship in that car for junior motorsports, if he could bring the Red Bull sponsorship or WeatherTech or whatever, or jockey or whoever wants to partner up with him, because there's no shortage of them, it would benefit him greatly to still run as many of those races as he could. And to not do it is honestly, I think it's doing a disservice to him because you're in the big kids pool now, and everybody you're playing against, even their worst driver, has way more experience than you. So,
Yeah,
anything else? Anything else you want to say about the O'Reilly before we get to the big show?
I don't believe so.
All right. So,
Oh, well, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, it popped in my head. I think the PJ1 ruined what could have been an amazing race for O'Reilly, and it somewhat ruined the Cup race. What I'm getting at is I'm good with NASCAR pre-treating the bottom groove on day one, but after that, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Let the track do what it's going to do. Um, you try to get bottom groove racing, and that's fine and everything. But at the end of the day, what won all three races? The High Line,
Yep. Highline and tires,
High Line, and lack of tires
or
was
lack
the
of tires. I mean, highline and the
it,
fact that the
it
yeah,
yeah. So the High Line is it there when it comes to winning a race. So why do we focus so much on trying to get this the bottom groove track? I know that what they're trying to do is to make it only bottom groove. The only way you're going to do that is to undo what Bruton did back in '07 and tear the track up and rebank it to, I believe it's 33 degrees. It might have been 36, but one of those two, rebank it to 33 straight up if that's what you're wanting. If not, leave the track alone because it's not doing what you're wanting it to do.
no. Yeah, I mean, I agree. If your intention is to get it back to old Bristol, you need to grind it. You need to rebuild it.
Yeah.
If you want to make all the lanes even again and kind of undo some of the dominance or the damage the PJ1, in my opinion, has done to this track and many others, you almost need to go through there and grind the whole track, like they did a couple of years ago, where you turned the whole thing into a top level Darlington at one point, which was awesome. But yeah, you need to just basically give the track surface a full reset, whether that's via repave or you know take it down a
The
layer
only
and
way to
take it.
do it is to repave, in my opinion. They say
Yeah.
they can't redo what they had. It's like you're full of shit. You still want to spend the money.
Oh, you absolutely can, because and when you say, oh, we can't put it back, first off, you have a laser scan copy of what it was before. So iRacing was around back then. It's not like they don't know how to put it back. You have the data from it from back in the day, but you also have the data from it from Papyrus when they did it the first
Yeah.
time. So you've got all this data. You could easily put it back. You don't want to. And to say that you don't want, you can't, or the technology doesn't exist. I mean, look at the banking they put into Atlanta. You most certainly could do it.
Yeah.
So,
You
um,
had it originally.
yep,
How can you not do
yep.
it now? It makes
So,
no damn sense.
so we
But
just started talking about
yeah,
the welcome, Chris. We just started talking about the Bristol Cup race side of the house. So, um, yeah, overall, let's break it down stage by stage. First stage, what did you think of the first stage overall? Like it was clear we weren't gonna have tire problems, so that's good. But what did you think about the racing in the first part?
the the initial start was insane. You
Yeah,
had, I think you had, obviously Ryan Blaney got out to a crazy lead,
yeah,
and then you had Ross Chastain, who started sixth, was in second after lap two, and Larson, who started eighth, was in third after lap two. So it showed you again what we were just talking about, the bottom groove that they're so just dire trying to make work didn't work. The bottom groove wasn't where it was on any restart.
yeah.
The very start of the race was awesome, and then you had, I can't remember what, somebody wrecked on like halfway through uh the first stage there, and kind of
Let's go here.
you know created some stuff. But Larson got a lead early because Blaney got traffic, and then but the first stage, the only thing that really sticks out in the first stage for me is the
Keselowski and
restart.
Stenhouse got together in the first stage. That's what
Yeah,
it was.
the initial start was the coolest thing about stage one, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. We saw
crazy,
the
some
first
crazy
the first
movement.
stage told me a lot about how the rest of the race was going to go because we saw after that, like I mentioned, after that discussion that the Goodyear engineer had with Jeff Gluck earlier this week about what they did, and I applaud Goodyear for doing the right thing. Instead of guessing, going back last year in November, where the weather's cold, like the spring, the time of day, the moisture, the track temperature, the amount of sunlight, like doing as much as you could to truly replicate it and figure out why you're having the problems you had. And it was temperature, but there was clearly a compound change because now today was really sunny, so that was nice, and it was warmer. But we saw early on in the first stage we weren't going to have those kind of problems. So I applaud them for not making it a Indy like tire failure race. But again, I would like to have seen more tire wear. Uh, and we didn't really see as much as I'd hoped. But yeah, the first stage was crazy.
Uh,
Um,
the the only other thing before we hear what Chris thinks, the only other thing I have for the first stage is William Byron going a lap down twice. I think it was just the the amount that team was off this weekend,
yeah,
and just I can't believe how far off they were.
he
It's
was
insane.
he was 2 laps down at the end of the first stage, which was insane. Cody Ware was doing better than him.
Yeah,
Like, how is an HMS car that far off when the other guy is up there leading the race?
yeah.
And the other two, even the guy who's been out, Bowman, is running better than you. Like, what the hell? So, what do you think about the early portion of the race there, Chris?
Cody Ware to the 24 or the 48, either one. But
Well,
I
that
mean,
would happen. That would be entertaining to see what he could do with a real car.
um, I mean, I think I didn't anticipate any of the actual tire problems going into this because, especially listening to Denny's conversation that he had right there at the beginning during the grid walk of how warm it was. I don't think, I mean, I think that's ultimately what they've been battling this whole time was colder temperatures. And for whatever reason, that it seemed to affect the tire wear a ton. And it ultimately boils down to the warmer temperatures. We didn't get the tire wear that I think we were waiting to see or hoping to see. I think they built this tire for traditionally what the weather is usually like at this point, and it didn't turn out to be that way.
I think that's why the rubber laid down better was because
Yeah.
it was warmer.
Yep. So I think it makes the compound on the tire softer, which allows it to work into the racetrack instead of just turn into a fucking dust.
Yeah. All
So
right.
I mean, it was good to see. I wish they'd stop fucking with it and uh I mean, how you really can't ungrind the top of the racetrack anymore and quit putting down the fucking traction compound and just let the race happen naturally for once and see how that actually works instead of messing with it every single fucking time. Let's get 3 or 4 races in, leave the track alone and see where it progresses, see where it goes, see what actually happens. Because I don't think, how are we ultimately going to get a good read on the tires if you continually fuck with the racetrack?
I agree. I would love for them to just this be the last time they put anything down on it and don't touch it and just let it go through 2 or 3 seasons of seasoning. The harsh winters, the heavy summers, the all that in the mountains, and just let them. You bring the tire, and the racing is the racing. You may not get a barn burner every time. I think their biggest problem, and don't get me wrong, they do it at all the other tracks too, but I think their biggest problem, like we were talking about earlier, is they're still chasing that 90s, late era 90s era feel of Bristol, of everybody wrapping the bottom, bumping each other. and moving up. And honestly, I mean, if you're going to apply PJ1, you should apply it to almost 3 car lengths wide from the bottom all the way up, 3 car lengths wide, because that's what old Bristol looked like. Was they were a lane, lane and a half, 2 lanes max, bouncing around there. They were never all the way up to the edge. And if you really wanted to recreate that, then that's what you do. You make those bottom 3 lanes so dominant that they're right on each other side by side the whole time, beating
Or
and
the bottom
banging.
2 lanes.
Yeah, you'd get you'd get the racing I think you're after if you did that. But so at the start of the second stage, we had our next caution where SVG's car just stepped out from under him and ultimately ended Bowman's day back. I felt bad for him just because your first race back, you want to finish all the laps. He had said in an interview that he thought when he got out of the car that his career was over. I do think his career is over. Honestly, I think it doesn't matter that he's back in there now. I think the damage is done.
Yeah.
That somebody else is going in that car. I'll be very surprised if he's still in it next year. And that, not saying Corey Day is ready, but I would be very surprised if they didn't put somebody else in there.
Kyle Busch is.
Yep, he's free. Well, I was thinking about this, when we're looking at Kyle Busch because he was a storyline to take too. I was thinking about whether or not it wouldn't be a bad idea to put Kyle Busch in the 21 car. You know, you could put Barry in the 48, and Kyle Busch is most likely going to leave RCR, but bring Kyle Busch over to the Penske Light team, if you will, and see what he could do for them.
I don't see him ever driving for Penske after Penske letting his brother go.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think it'd be interesting to see what he could do in that car if he can't ever get back into like an HMS type ride or something like that. So,
I was it second stage where Riley Herbst got into Kyle?
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Riley Herbst starts top 5 as
hmm
They,
a career qualifying effort,
yep,
and actually looked good in the first stage.
yeah, yep. He was running up
And
there
then
strong, solid.
decides, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going back to where I'm used to running. Like, how
Yep.
do you go from having an amazing car to junk? Like, it doesn't. Your car couldn't have been that far off to be running good the first stage, and then did you not adjust on it and you just were junk? Like, it doesn't.
well,
I
where
don't.
did they lose all their track position at? That's what I missed.
I don't. It not,
It
caution.
just all of a sudden he was back in the middle of the pack, and
Yeah.
it's still sad to sit and ultimately watch, even at a short track, how much these cars are aero dependent.
Oh
That
yeah,
kid had a car that ran. I mean, he ran in the top five, top five, top seven, the entire first stage.
Yep.
And then once they lost that track position, that's not something he has a ton of experience in, is trying to make it back through the field. And the car was junk after that.
yeah.
I don't think I honestly don't think it's a lack of keeping up with the adjustments. It's just so fucking frustrating to sit and watch. I mean, we were even watching some of it even at Martinsville. There should not be a fucking aero dependency on these cars at these short tracks. It just should not be happening. It's
Well, you're
ruining the
gonna
fucking
have
racing.
air dependency when you have undercar downforce.
Well, exactly. But I mean, this is ultimately what is destroying the short track package. Until we get rid of the fucking aerodynamics underneath the race car on these cars, especially at a short track, this is exactly what we're just stuck with it. I don't, I don't think you can take enough grip out of the cars for it to matter, because not only is the car ahead of you out of shape, but as long as they're punching that hole in the air or leaving the dirty air on the racetrack instead of up over top of the car behind them, you're not going to create the passing opportunities. They're too aero dependent.
I agree. Um, Overall, this rate. Well, we'll get to the end of it. I don't want to get that far ahead yet, but so Herbst takes out Kyle Busch, which first off, if you're paying attention and you're any of the other 34 full-time or 35 full-time guys on that track, of all the people you should not spin out there, Kyle Busch is probably the one you don't want to fuck with. He's having a very miserable set of years
3 years.
here compared to where he's used to running. So if you spin him out, and it's not like he knows he's going to be like, man, I'm giving up my winning car here. Like if he gets back to you, your ass is going around or in the wall, one of the two. So for Herbst, who again had a career qualifying day, ran well in stage one up front, you know, should have run up there more based off where the rest of the Toyotas were running. Um, yeah, to decide to take out Kyle Busch, like that's just junior. It is idiocy right there. Like you did not take 2 seconds to think about what's going to
That's
happen. It's
Bush
not like,
League.
yeah, it's you're not like you know where you're at and you know who you just wrecked. What makes you think that's not coming back to you before this race is over? You're
And
going to be
again,
around him at some point, and that's what happened. We get to, all right, so he wrecks him earlier at the very beginning of stage three, and
no, at
to
the end
get
of
no. Herbst wrecks Kyle Busch at the beginning, early sections of stage three.
I thought
We
that
get
was in stage two.
no, it was just right after stage two.
Okay.
And then we get going, and then Kyle Busch gets his opportunity for payback, and he takes it. And I have no problem with him taking it. It was a definite like, hey, you know what? Let me teach you. And it's like he
It was
literally,
clean.
and
The only
and
problem
it's
I
like
had
three
with
laps
it,
from being done. Like we're 3 laps from the race being over at lap 497
that
when the
was my
tag.
only problem with it. Like you about changed the outcome of the race, and
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why he did it. I don't want that kid winning in my old car.
Yep. Yeah,
He never.
that could be it too. It could have been multiple things, but yeah,
Yeah,
that was just
didn't help. Didn't work. But
that was inexperience and not being aware of your surroundings and who you're racing by Rally Herbst. So,
so,
uh,
so since we're in stage three, I got
yep,
to get to my rant.
yep,
I know it's Bristol. I know bumping. A bump and run is what everybody wants.
yeah,
But usually a bump and run happens when you are wearing somebody's bumper out and they won't let you by. But Ryan Blaney was running the high lane, Larson's running the low lane, and all of a sudden Blaney decides I'm going low and just annihilates Larson to take the lead. Like
yep,
I get I get when like I said, if you're on somebody's ass for multiple laps and they're just blocking the hell out of you, I get it. Do it. Do it all the time. But when somebody hasn't blocked you and you do that, I don't know. I take heed to that. It's just it's poor sportsmanship, I guess is what I'm looking for.
Well,
Poor racecraft. You
it's
you can't pass me clean, so here, move me out of the way. And then it was obvious he had a better car. Best car all day, the 12. Shittiest pit crew, best car.
Yeah. Well,
Like
I think you just answered your own question. I don't ultimately think it had anything to do with Larson. I just think his temper was so high at that point because that was the fifth fucking pit stop in a row that they got beat off pit road,
yeah,
lost
they
spots
like to
on
be
pit
beat off.
road.
They like to be beat
mhm.
off. They like to be beat off.
Well, apparently he doesn't like to be beat off, and he got a little upset with it.
But I don't know. I just thought it
He
was.
got tired of taking it in the rear, so he decided to give it to Larson in the rear.
It, I
You
don't
never
know.
know, dude.
I
I'm
mean,
just
if you
sitting here
look at
laughing.
it, he could have ruined Larson's day and his own, depending on how you know, obviously nothing happened there, but I just thought at that point of the race that you obviously have the faster car, show just a smidge of patience and get by him clean. Now, if he's blocking you, yeah, go ahead, but not when they're not blocking. I think that's poor racecraft. But anyway, Ryan gets far out, then uh, Ty gets past Larson eventually, and Ty's actually running Ryan down. And then I can't remember what happened. Somebody spun out and created the crazy finish that we had.
That was the one where was that the one where fucking the 47 got into the six?
That was way earlier on.
That was early.
I didn't say I didn't say I thought that was early,
That
but
was the first caution.
oh, that was the first caution.
Yep.
First or second.
Holy crap!
So Bell has his issues, takes himself out. First he takes himself out with the speeding penalty, then he takes himself out with the just like SVG, where the car just steps out and basically kills the right side of it. Um, Overall, let's. I'm just curious, like what what would you rate the race at, knowing that we've got the new short track package. We were hoping for higher tire wear. We've got more horsepower. Like for me, it was better than the spring race where we had all the tire degradation. And even though I liked all the passing that went with that and the management, that I agree that was too far. I think this was a worse race than last fall for sure. Um, last fall's race was really good. This race,
Well, I don't agree
I
with
think
you
it was a letdown overall for a couple reasons, but mostly just because we had more horsepower, but the tires didn't wear as much as I'd hoped. So I think again, it's kind of like kind of like the prior Bristol races of us not knowing. We've just got the maybe too high expectations on what to expect based on all the moving parts we've had lately.
there. I think today's racing was fine. I think, like I said, if they take the PJ1 out of it, I think it's a better race.
Okay.
Either PJ1 the whole corner or don't PJ1 at all.
Yeah, the little strip at the bottom is stupid.
But it's a half a car width. Like, so apparently you wear out your left side tires the first part of the race, and then you move up, and then what's faster? The high lane. So like, it's pointless. You're just slowing down the inevitable is all you're doing. So when they racked them up after Kyle Busch took Riley out, when they
Yep.
racked them up with green white checker, did you guys think Blaney was going to get by him?
I did. I was expecting Blaney to win this race. I was happy to see that Blaney didn't. This is. I mean, he made him earn it, and him and Larson made him earn it. But I'm glad to see that Blaney didn't go in there and take Gibbs out because he could have. He could have easily put the door to him, and they could have drag raced to it. There was a couple times he had an opportunity to put a wheel to him and didn't do it, and they raced it out clean. So I was happy for that for Gibbs, but a little disappointed only because I think it would have made the show better,
Yeah.
the racing better. But that's not how Blaney races unless you race him that way.
I
You know,
want to give a
Not if you
half.
ask Blake.
I want to give half an attaboy to Chris. He picked Ty Gibbs to win this race, and he stuck with him after our last podcast. He stuck with him.
Yep.
But today he made an ass of himself on our chat. He said, and I quote, "I think Hosmar won before Ty."
I thought with how Hocevar had driven up through the field and the speed that he had, I thought he was going to maintain that through the rest of the race. And they seemed to they seemed like they had, for whatever reason, a Bradley Herbst moment. All of a sudden, he just disappeared, just wasn't even there anymore. I mean, I think he still ended up with a halfway okay finish, but it just all of a sudden the speed was just gone out of that car.
So after 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 races, Chris has 2 wins and we have none. Alan.
Well, we need to get our shit together then. Now I will
Well,
say,
if I get my shit
so,
together next week, he'll have 3 wins.
so I will say that I was very impressed with, this wasn't totally unexpected. I'll say that for Ty Gibbs, based off how he's run there the last handful of races, and with a more durable tire, he proved that he was willing, he was going to win at some point. And this, I think when we talked early on in the season, that this was definitely not just from Chris picking him, but like we all thought this was going to be one of his better opportunities for sure. And he
Yeah,
proved it.
I picked him for both races last year,
Yep.
and I was just a year late or early. I mean,
So
uh, I want to give a shout out to Todd Gilliland and his crew.
Yep.
P6 with a car that started 35th. That's kind of unheard of these days. You saw it back in the late 90s and early 2000s with people making, Hail Mary throws like the 21 did in 2001 and stuff like that. But they took right sides late and it they held on to it. He obviously had a decent enough car to stay up there, and he beat Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace. He beat guys that are really good at Bristol.
Yep.
So maybe this is when the front row part of the lawsuit, you know, contract.
They're
They're
just
doing
trying. Yeah, just trying not to make it look obvious. They're going to work it in slowly.
Well, to your point, like going back to who ran where and everything, like Riley Herbst being spun out 3 laps to go, still managed to score 19 points because he had 8 stage points because he did run well in that first stage. Like, and these guys that are not scoring stage points that are up there, further up in the finishes, like at this point, we're 8 races in. If you haven't figured out as a crew chief that stage points are more valuable than where you finish unless you can win this race, and they're more valuable than they were last year and during the playoff era by a long shot. Because the people who are scoring 30 plus points per race average, or close to 40 at this point, all are stage point kings. They're all guys who are constantly collecting stage points.
So this is the third
All right.
race in Chase this year.
Yep.
Larson did all
Um,
right with stages.
Yep.
yeah, he had second best point total for the day. But my question is, does the 24 bring the same car back in the Chase?
I need to take that one out back and shoot it.
They need to put that in Dale Jr.'s graveyard.
Yeah, that one he should have just run in the wall because it was, I don't know what Rudy did to it, but it wasn't worth shit. That was a bad car.
Something they said during practice that kind of blew me away. William Byron's never led a lap at Bristol.
Yeah, I heard that during the race. I was like, wow.
What? Like, not even one lap? And then you go out and have a performance like that. You're like, God bless.
I
Yeah.
You
think
can't.
I think they that Paul Wolf found a way to fucking slide that car in from 3 weeks ago that Joey had, and
You
they
think
just
if you
rewrapped
pulled the
it.
wrap back in
Maybe
Jason
maybe there
Miller,
was an Easter poker game somewhere where they lost
Yeah.
cars and they cut the noses off and put them back on.
That was sad. It
that
literally was
the,
just like watching
the
Joey a couple
saddest
weeks
part
ago.
about it is Cody Ware ran in front of him all day long, and William Byron beat him on the last restart.
Well, I think they should have protested that in.
Would you let me tell you this? So looking at the numbers here, Kyle Busch is averaging 16 points a race, which is the equivalent of finishing 22nd on a weekly basis. That is mind blowing for somebody with his accomplishments. That's where he's sitting right now with their performance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other than Daytona, they haven't scored above 25 points, and most of them they barely score above 15 points on a weekly basis. For being a being in a Chevrolet that is part of a what the hell I don't know, a premier partner, whatever the hell they call it, that Hendrick, RCR,
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Trifecta. It's crazy to me that
Key
car
part.
with that driver, a key partner, that a driver of his caliber and a car that's getting that kind of data is running that bad on a weekly basis, 8 races in.
Yeah, they're doing terrible, and their SVG is 209 behind Tyler Reddick in 16th in points. Bush is 255 out. I mean, obviously, if he somehow does something miraculous and makes the chase, he's not going to do anything. But you're still that far behind and a road course expert only. Like that's not good.
Yeah.
And Chase Briscoe is up to 17th in points.
Yep. So let me pull that out. Stand. who's where? So Ty Gibbs has moved himself into fourth with his win. Larson's up three. Bubba Wallace has regained three from the basement where he had dropped down to 11th. Brad dropped three. Bell dropped three.
Byron and both Bell and Byron both dropped two.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Bell and Byron. Yeah, they both dropped two. Um, Joey has stayed the same. Suarez moved back up one, and SVG with his bad finish dropped down two. But like you said, okay, so earlier we were trying to decide, is Chase Briscoe in trouble or not? I think they're where they need they're
Yeah,
there now.
he's 1 point out right now, so he,
Yep.
his biggest thing is going to be getting around the 6 points area where we think you have to be to potentially go for a championship.
Yeah, he's 210 back to sixes. He's still 100 points back of where he needs to be, which is not undoable. You've got quite a
Yeah,
ways to go.
Byron, Wallace, Bell, Busher, Keselowski, Logano, Hosvar, Priest, Suarez in between you though.
Yeah, but he's definitely better than SVG, Suarez, Priest, Hocevar. It'll be tougher to pass Brad and Joey and Busher and Bell and Bubba. And if William Byron runs like he did today, he's just going to give everybody his spot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's looking at it though. Like, okay, so we're back from the break. Everybody probably needed a break. Of the people who are still down there in the basement, Bowman, I think Jeff Gluck tried to say it earlier this week. He's like, I'm not so sure that Bowman can't recover. We're 8 races in. I'm pretty confident Bowman's not recovering.
Oh,
Um,
he's 362 points out of the lead.
yeah,
Um,
but he's
he's 40 points behind Cody Ware.
he's 160 points. He's 153 points behind 16th place right now, which is SVG.
I do have a question for you guys. I don't know if this got
Yeah.
brought up, not just where we're at in the points right now, but for some of these guys in overcoming some of the point deficits that they have, what is your guys' take on the fucking metric that we're using for qualifying instead of the old school pill draw?
I think it needs to go. I think we just need to line up based off practice speed like we used to. And wherever you practice, I think that we need to go back to single practice combined and go back to old school, where you practice. If you're the fastest in practice, you go last or you go first. And if you're slowest in practice, you get the benefit of going last, you know,
They never did that.
or whatever it was. Or was
It
it
was
fast?
They did it. They did a pill draw.
pill draw.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm okay with going back to that too. Every week we just, everybody goes and pulls a number, pulls a straw, whatever the case.
That's what I'd like to see because I think that's one of the biggest things. It's been talked about a little bit on some of the podcasts and some of the broadcasts
Yep,
that
Harvick mentioned it.
it's you once you have a bad qualifying draw repeatedly week in and week out based on the fucking metric, it's hard to overcome it. I mean, it is.
I don't agree with I see what you're saying, but I don't agree with it. I don't think it is as much of a detriment as people say it is. It goes based off your last week's finish, which could potentially have been off your draw, yeah, but you look at Riley Herbst. Yeah, he finished like shit today, but he started top 5 and he was like the 5th car out.
I mean,
So
it might work, but it hasn't showed that through most of the beginning of the year. I mean, you don't see these guys hold shit for position as far as qualifying position until at least halfway to almost 3/4 through the qualifying session.
that's because that's where all the good cars are.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's just ironic. It's you got bad cars qualifying bad. I mean, it's.
I don't know. I'd still like to go back to the 12
I'll
draw.
go to this. Larson was in Group A after Darlington, and he qualified in the top 10 for the next race. So it's not as much of a detriment as we think it is.
It is for some drivers.
I just don't. You're on the same track. You're just going out earlier. It The only time it's going to be a detriment is if they do night qualifying. But if it's daytime qualifying, it gets hotter through the day, so the hotter track is going to actually hurt the cars that are going out later. Just it's That's just how I look at it.
Well, you're
But
entitled to your wrong opinion.
I just
You're down to your wrong opinion.
I don't. I mean, I don't like the way they do it either. I'd rather go to a pill draw, but I just don't think it is as big of a detriment as I guess you think it is. It's just not, in my opinion. You either qualify fast or you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it both ways, but
Oh, we know.
I didn't say take it both ways. We're not supposed to talk about that on here.
Well, from a season standpoint, so we're 8 races in. There's 20, yeah, 24 races, so we're a third of the way to the chase, right? Or no, we're
26 races.
26 races, you're right. So we're almost a third of the way there, or halfway to, or yeah, third of the way there. Looking at
We're
it,
halfway to halfway.
halfway to halfway. But we're a third of the way there, essentially, and Blaney, with his average finish, is outdoing the high point gains of Reddick's initial first 3 wins and then the 2 low finishes in a fourth. Like Blaney's metric is
Four wins.
proving that, yeah. Well, I'm just saying that the head start that Reddick gave himself, and then he had some mid pack finishes, and then back to a win, and then some more mid pack finishes like today. That style that Blaney's doing, even with his shitty pit crew, he's closed down the average points per race scored to less than 10 difference between him and
I hope they don't do what Chris says. I hope they don't try to get Ryan Flores back.
No,
I,
no.
I
I'd
don't
rather them keep tripping over the dicks personally because
I don't
it's
think
fun
Ryan
to watch.
Flores is going to save their life. I think they need a whole new pit crew, but that's just me.
Well, it's not the whole pit crew. It is literally just the guys with the guns.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
It,
there's only 5 guys. There's a
yeah, I
fuel
know. It's
guy and
two
4 guys.
guys. They're both fucking up.
Yeah,
Every
it's
race.
two fifths of the pit crew.
Yeah, so find somebody else.
Yep.
It's usually, from what I've seen, it's usually the front tire guy. So if you get rid of him, you're gonna have most of your issues solved. Hopefully they don't watch this and do that because I enjoy watching them trip every week.
Let's see here. All right, so we go to Kansas next. Who do we all have for Kansas?
Me and Chris have Bubba Wallace.
Okay.
You have the 20.
I think I stand a better chance than you two do.
Wow.
I'm just looking at how Bubba's been driving based off his shortcomings to his teammate, and
Maybe
he's
he
driving
did
over
on
his head to
he
try and
he should have
compensate.
won last fall. He's won there before.
Oh, I'm not saying he's incapable of winning. What I'm saying is the pressure that's been put upon him by watching his teammate go out there and collect trophy after trophy after trophy. And, we saw it at Martinsville where he did something stupid. And,
Bubba did?
yeah, because he should have run better there.
I
And,
I'm still shocked that they didn't suspend him
yeah,
or fine him or anything. Did not do a damn thing to him.
yep, yep, I agree. Um, so
Are they literally just looking for right hooks? Is that all they're looking for?
I don't know. Yeah,
Apparently.
probably. So, but yeah, with the way he's driving, he started off the first handful of races really strong. And I honestly think the more success Tyler has, the more Bubba gets in his own head. Because last year they both struggled together, and it's not like he had to go out there and compete against this juggernaut. Well, now Tyler's gotten all that stress off, and he's, been performing overall. 4 wins, most wins on the season so far, point leader. And Bubba has, 2 races ago, detonated and took himself down to 11th. Now he ran good today, but for or ran well enough to gain some points today, but definitely not what he's capable of. So
So, if y'all don't mind, could we talk about before we get off here? Can we talk about Riley points real quick?
yeah, let's
No,
do
we
it.
mind. We mind.
Well, you can get off here then. So we've talked. Everybody talks about the lead that Mr. 45 got in Cup. Justin Allgaier has a 130-point lead on second. So when they reset, he'll probably have a 400-point lead down to 25.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Like, oh my God! Like Sheldon
he's.
Creed's having a great year. Jesse Love's having a good year. Corey Day's above
I mean,
what
we're
everybody thought he'd be doing,
with
but they're
Allgaier.
all 12th is 240 out.
I mean, essentially for Allgaier, we're going to have the same conversation we had for Zilich prior to the playoff reset. Like,
Mhm.
basically, he should have the trophy, and there's a very high probability he won't win it all when it comes to it, just because of what can happen in those 10 races with a reset. But if he does, at least he won't lose it on a winner take all.
I I also wonder with Raja Caruth, I understand the whole sponsor crap, and Hendrick cars wanted, and I was confused with this past weekend. Hendrick cars wanted certain drivers in certain races in the 88. The
Yep.
17 is full time with Corey Day, but then they go and sponsor the 32. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't make sense, and you've let Raja fall to 11th in points because he's not in a good ride for so many weeks. I
Yep.
mean, do we only care about the owner points here? Or do we care about the driver?
Well, for the longest time with the winner take all format, we cared more about the owner, truthfully, because the charters and the owners stuff and everything, even at the middle and third tier, the owners points were what paid the bill. And JRM's budget very much revolves around the owner points. So, I mean, I definitely agree. I think it sucks for Raja. He was
Yeah.
up there, and by being relegated to secondary tier drive rides,
Well,
that
not even being relegated to a second tier
or third tier,
ride.
or yeah,
Well, but not even being relegated to another car that isn't a JRM car. Look at how bad it's showing, even for Quapple. I mean, even they're struggling bouncing back and forth between just JRM cars because he's
Well,
not in.
he's fifth in points.
Well, I know, but it's still I've seen them struggle and have problems. Just that I think it would. I I
I would
I
very much like
understand.
to hear from Dale on why they're doing what they're doing because it doesn't make any sense. If your goal
It's
is to,
unfortunately it's sponsor driven. Junior has addressed it. It all has to do with sponsorship and the
Yep.
money in the cars.
Yep.
Junior doesn't want him bouncing around. Junior wants him in the cars, but this is what the sponsors wanted.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
he
Carson
pieced,
Waffle's been in four different cars this year.
yep, he pieced together a complete season for Carson, so that the kid basically didn't just disappear out of the
And
pipeline.
Raja, yeah. They
And
both
Raja, yeah,
they both are driving the 32 every now and then. And then Carson is literally bouncing between the 1, the 9, the 32. What was the other one? I think there was another number in there somewhere. But he's
but
bouncing around all those and he's still in fifth.
well, I mean, I think he's been able to stay in fifth just because the majority of his rides are in JRM cars as opposed to how many times Raja's getting kicked to the 32, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But I think it's wearing on him. I mean, even being fifth in points, I mean, he's fifth in points, but he's what, 160 points behind the leader?
170. And he got to see the car that he drove all last year when Bristol,
Yep.
his primary gig, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because the lead that Allgaier has is insane, and it's just going to keep growing. And he's retiring after the year.
yep. Well, I
So
mean, I would
what's
love for him to go out with a blowout victory but for both the regular season and the full season, that would be awesome.
With that being said, what are your guys' thoughts on the situation that Lajoie and Heim are in right now?
So we
We
briefly
already talked
talked
about
about
it.
that earlier, but LaJoy's your guy, so definitely want to get your opinion. But you know, so LaJoy's definitely got some PR work to do because now he's agreed to run this truck full time, and he two season openers ago he basically stepped on his dick saying that he would rather sit home than ride in
Oh,
either one of those two series. But
twice. He said it
yeah,
twice.
yep. And so at this point. But I do think there is an opportunity here for him if he capitalizes on it. That
Have either of you listened to Stacking Pennies recently?
No.
I'm probably I'm trying to remember which was the last episode I was. I have listened,
Yeah,
but
him and Flores actually brings it up, and it was kind of it was. I got to give kudos to Flores for bringing it up
was it in the
about.
recent episode that he
Oh
brought it
yeah,
up?
I think it was
Okay,
the last one where they talk
okay,
about the last one or the one right before that, talking about just taking a step back and being out of because like you said, Flores is the tire changer for the 88 now in the Xfinity or the
yeah,
O'Reilly series. And he says there he goes, it's you really don't realize it until you have to take that step back or you do take that step back on unfortunately the ego that you carry when you're in it.
yep,
And Corey touched on it, and yeah, I think you can kind of hear didn't ultimately address it head on, but you can hear it in his voice that yeah, I was a fucking idiot for some of the shit I said in the past.
yep. Because honestly, and I'm glad to hear that because Corey went straight to Cup. He didn't really run trucks or Xfinity at the time. He just basically got in a back marker Cup deal because he thought it was better to be there and be in the Sunday show, and he always said it, than be in the back, or than be in like and also ran in one of the other series, which I could see his argument, but and don't get me wrong, he got that ride at Hendrick for that fill-in race with because of the work he did for those other doing more with less. But
Yep.
then I think at a certain point he started to drink his own Kool-Aid, honestly, and
Yeah.
especially when Stacking Pennies took off, when it was Sunday Money, and that really I think hurt him, especially when he started feuding with Denny Hamlin. Like you aren't at that start accomplishment or status level to be doing that. Not that anybody loves Denny by any means, but at that time, look at what Denny's accomplished. Look at what you've accomplished. You're basically picking a fight with like the class valedictorian, and you're the guy getting C's and D's in class. Like, what are you doing?
I think Denny Hamlin having that conversation with Kyle Busch where they was talking about he says, man, he says I Kyle Busch made the comment. He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't go out and I don't talk that trash right now. I don't wear that black cat because I can't go out and back it up. He goes, but it's fun, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, Denny Hamlin can go out and talk it and then back it up. That so yeah, that's he was definitely overstepping those bounds.
So
So
what we came up with, Chris, was both of them deserve to go for the championship in trucks. Him and
yep,
Corey Heim. If they can be if they're in the top 10 after the cutoff, there shouldn't be a waiver. You're in the top 10.
I
You,
mean, they both kind of got screwed this week at Bristol. They both got fucking wrecked, but still,
yeah, but
but yeah, I mean,
in Corey Heim's aspect, he is, I believe he's second in points now, and he's not even
second or third, yeah. And he's missed the first two races.
three. I thought.
No, missed the first two.
but yeah, I mean, what
Yeah,
we
he's
conclusion of is
he's
there
third
you
in
shouldn't need a
points, four
waiver.
points back, and he's ran two less races. Yeah, so like,
Yeah,
and he's not going to be allowed to run in the chase because of your playoff waiver. These aren't playoffs.
Yep, and you shouldn't need a playoff waiver because they're not playoffs. It's the chase. If you can get there, because there's no
I thought it was based on points, not eligibility and qualification. Well, other than what NASCAR's still sticking to, which is, I mean, I get it to an extent, but honestly, Could you imagine if NASCAR would have said this back when uh, Pearson won his championship without running a full season?
Exactly.
Sorry,
Well,
sorry. You even though you earn more points than everybody all fucking season, sorry, you don't get the trophy because you didn't attempt every race. That's just fucking retarded.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
and it's not
So
like you didn't
basically,
attempt every race because you didn't want to. You didn't have a choice. No, what you didn't have any options available to you.
yeah.
It's different than you're with a full-time team and y'all just choose not to show up. So to me,
Yep.
this is idiotic. Neither Heim nor Lajoie. Lajoie wasn't signed to a full-time team, first off. So to me,
Nope.
his circumstance is different because he didn't know
Neither was Heim.
well, right, but Heim didn't have a ride because he's planning for this future thing. LaJoy doesn't have a ride because he wasn't expected to be in that car, period, in a truck, period.
Yeah.
He had,
LaJoy is
decided.
102 points out of the cutoff.
So just if we've switched back to the points are the only thing that matters. Well, if points are the only thing that matters, then you should need a waiver, and there shouldn't be a question about whether or not they're eligible. Neither one of them are running full time in Cup, so there's no conflict of interest there. Neither one of them are running full time in Xfinity. Again, no conflict of interest there. So if they decided to declare points for the Truck Series and want to run the rest of the schedule, there should be no reason why they can't. If they make the chase, they make the chase.
They
Yeah.
both
Otherwise,
have
it's
four
kind of
start
idiotic.
pits. Like,
I didn't mean to take us back to that, but I just was
No,
kind
it's
of
okay.
curious your guys' take.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Corey does for the remainder of the season, just in general, because he has no wins in the top three series. So for him, a win anywhere is going to be good for his confidence. And so, this is to me, it's a golden opportunity for him. You've got this opportunity in front of you that you weren't expecting. And it's, Colleague isn't the best team, but they're certainly not a backmarker team. And you're in a team with a manufacturer where you are the marquee partner. There are no other partners. There's five trucks, and all five of you are getting all the resources that Ram has to provide at this time. So
I mean,
you
granted,
can't,
it's already been admitted they're running old trucks with new bodies on them. But
right.
if he
Yeah, we already
can
talked about
get,
that
but if
too.
he can, but if he can get his footing, get himself established, and keep that fucking seat for once Ram does come in with all the shit that they need to come in with to put underneath these drivers, I think it could pay dividends. But yeah, he needs to not step on his dick again before he gets to that point.
I'm just looking at, okay, so you're not having to compete for sim time with anybody, with any other teams or manufacturers. You guys are, the five of you that are in those trucks all have all of Ram's dedicated sim time. So you're not competing against like a Hendrick or anybody else. You're not competing against a JGR for data. At the same time, you're working from behind the deficit, but at least you're not competing like all the resources that the OEM has are going to this team. There's no competition for those resources. It's all to you. So if you guys can't make it work, then it's a different problem. But I mean, I feel like this if he doesn't win while he's with them, it's going to be a bigger problem, honestly.
I mean, pretty much.
Because it's not like you can claim the same thing like when he wasn't winning at Cup, but he was with Spire or something where they're not even a key partner. That's understandable. This, okay, yeah, you're not in like a JGR car or whatever, and you're not in a Kyle Busch Toyota, or Aspire at this point, but you're also not in, a Nice Motorsport or somebody else in the back, even though they've won before. So, I want to see him win, and I think he can. At first when Blake and I were talking about it, I was wondering because I don't keep up with how old he is. I was wondering if he'd kind of already missed his window of opportunity, but
He's right around the same age as Larson, so
so
32, maybe 34.
So he hasn't missed his opportunity window yet because a Cup driver's prime years are in their late 30s, but he can't afford to
Wait
miss.
any longer.
Yeah, he can't afford to
He's
give up it.
34.
Basically, if it's like he's playing the Masters, he's got one shot at it and he can't give up any strokes. So like wrecking himself today, couldn't afford to do that.
He'll be 35 in September.
So he's got at best an 8-year window left in
Yeah.
his career at full-time driving if he wants to and produce and can get all the resources. You know, Hamlin's racing on borrowed time. He's a one-off, just like Mark was, you know, driving as late in his career, but he was still performing. That's not the norm.
Yep.
So,
Guys, I gotta go.
yep. So we'll let you go. And so yeah, we'll see what happens at Kansas. I'm gonna stick with my guy with Bell winning Kansas or being there. I just think Bubba's pressure that he's got on his shoulders, especially with Michael Jordan attending all these races and
I
Reddick and the success he has,
I
is
hate to do this, but I'm probably gonna switch my 23 pick to the 11.
all right. You gonna stick with yours, Chris? You gonna stick with Bubba, or you wanna?
No, I'll stick with it.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Thank you, gentlemen. Sorry for the late start, and we'll see what happens next week.
Have a good one, man.
All right.
See you guys.
See you.
See you.